Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Lynn Berger, host of Lynn Berger Interviews Remarkable People. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Lenny Golay, the owner of the Corner Bookstore, an iconic, wonderful Mecca on the Upper East Side in Manhattan. And we're going to talk about the history and how the bookstore got started and everything else about this wonderful bookstore. So thank you so much for being here.
Lynn, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. That was lovely.
Well deserved. So can you share with us a bit about the Corner Bookstore and how, when you purchased it and all the work you put into it?
Yes, I can. It has an interesting history because my husband and I kind of backed into the business of the Corner Bookstore. We bought the building. It's a brick and brownstone townhouse on the corner of Madison Avenue and 93rd Street, and we bought it in 1976 with the idea of having a place to live, because we both had our own little businesses, but we were living in an apartment on 88th Street, and we knew that that building was going to be taken down. It was an old townhouse, and a new one would be put in place, and we just wanted a secure place to live. So we did buy this little townhouse at the time in 1976 when they were giving New York away.
Wow.
And we had a white elephant. And by that, I mean that the income from the tenants in the store was actually less than the real estate taxes. And the reason was because the owner of the building had been the owner of the pharmacy that occupied the commercial space. And so he gave himself what is called a sweetheart lease. And then as the business, as time went on, the pharmacy went on to his son, then to his son's partner. And then the original pharmacist had really nothing to do with the business or too much to do with the building, except that he still owned it. And we had this opportunity, which we took. And we continued with our separate businesses until such time as the current tenant, which was the pharmacist, far removed, the partner of the pharmacist's son, et cetera, went bankrupt. And then we had to find a tenant. And every tenant we looked at would have destroyed the interior of the building. And it would have destroyed the architectural integrity. And that was extremely important to us. The store that we have now is probably the only one left in Manhattan that has the original floor, ceiling, and furnishings that were installed, if you will, in the 1920s, when all of Madison Avenue was the buildings on Madison Avenue were converted from residential to commercial. And then as time goes on, the commercial spaces change. Because the pharmacist owned the building, his business did not change. In other words, the interior of his business did not change until we bought the store. So the store has the original terrazzo floor. It has the original tin ceiling. It has some of the original woodwork. And that was so important to us because my husband was involved in architecture. He was a model maker for most of the major architects here in New York City. He was a fine, fine, fine craftsman, a graduate of Cooper Union. And we wanted to preserve the building. So we thought, oh, well, hire a young pharmacist and he'll become the manager and we'll keep it as a pharmacist. But that wouldn't work out. We knew nothing about the business, pharmacy business. And then my husband said, you know, this is a residential neighborhood and there is no bookstore here. And there are families here and there should be children's books and, you know, books for people. So we thought, okay, fine. We'll open a bookstore, hire a manager and let the manager handle the business. But that wouldn't work either. I had a background in publishing, so I knew a little bit of something about the book business.
Mhm.
And also my one forte is being very precise and organized.
Mhm.
And that's how I wanted the store to be, precise and organized. And we ended up just taking over and running in the store ourselves. And that's how we backed into it.
Wow. And there weren't a lot of things up here at that point, like a bookstore and friendly places to stop in. You were a pioneer, right?
Not completely, because there were a lot of schools here, a lot of private schools, a lot of churches and synagogues. So that really maintained the community, the neighborhood. This was a neighborhood. This was not commercial. It was all residential. And there were, the businesses catered to Fifth Avenue and Park Avenue. They were services business. For example, we have 1,000 restaurants up and down the avenue now. All of those restaurants used to be dry cleaners. In fact, there was one wonderful dry cleaner just down the block where it was a French laundry, and they had this lovely woman in the window ironing. You could go by and you would see her working away, ironing away. She was the presentation model, if you will, of the business. But that's how it was. Every restaurant here had been a dry cleaner, everyone.
Wow. Well, I guess there was a tremendous need for dry cleaners then, because
yes, there was. There was tremendous need for service businesses, dry cleaners, shoe repairs, and things of that sort. And in a way, we were also a service business, servicing the neighborhood with their books.
Well, that was a wonderful introduction. And I read a bit about the name, how you came up with the name. Do you want to share with us?
Well, actually, it was my husband who came up with the name. And it was very simple. We just knew no matter what we called the bookstore, people would refer to it as the corner bookstore.
Right.
We're on the corner, it's a bookstore. Like you refer to your corner drugstore, we'd be the corner bookstore. So we thought, okay, let's go with the corner bookstore.
Well,
So,
it surely works, right?
yeah.
Absolutely. And then the sign, yet it's a beautiful sign.
Yes, it's a very special sign. My husband cut out the letters with a jigsaw, and then he put real gold leaf on them. So when you see it, when the sun hits it, it absolutely sparkles. That is real gold. It's not imitation gold. On the jigsaw letters that he cut out and put in place. Yes, it is a beautiful sign, handmade by Ray, who was a craftsman, like I said before. And all the furnishings in the bookstore, he designed and he built by hand.
Because there's a bench, right? You can sit on the bench and
There are two little benches on either side of the store. We want to have the people that come in and sit down and relax and be able to browse. We have the tables and a very special kind of display so that the books are displayed, and no other bookstore except those that have copied from us had this kind of display. And the windows are completely filled with books, and no other bookstore has that kind of window display unless they copied it from us.
Mm-hmm.
was his original.
Yes, when I'm looking for a new title, I know if I just pass by, I'll come up with a few. So what do you mean by that, that no other bookstore displayed in the window like that?
If you see, go to other bookstores, all the books are on one level, if you will, the
Mhm.
bottom level. They
Mhm.
didn't know how to use the vertical space,
Okay.
only the horizontal space. So Ray devised something that would use up the vertical space to show off whatever books we wanted to show off. Yeah, that's what I mean by it. Do you understand that?
Absolutely, because it's full. It's
Yes,
full
exactly.
from
Yeah.
up to, yeah, yes. So how often do you change that?
That's up to the store manager, but we change it. One window will have the new books, and that gets changed fairly frequently.
Mhm.
I would say 1 or 2 times a week, different books will be
Right.
changed the entire window.
Right.
Another book, the other window will have a theme. So the theme might be cookbooks, or it might be gardening books, or art book, depending on season.
Mm. Yeah, that's a lot of work, right?
Yes, it is. And we're very lucky to have such a brilliant, brilliant store manager. Chris Lenihan is very, very special. He's been with the store over 30 years. And then we're also lucky to have a brilliant office manager, and that's Nick Chase, and he's been with us on very many, many, many years. And we're very lucky with them, and we're lucky with the staff. But we've always given priority to the staff. People will say, the customer's always right, but not at the corner bookstore.
During our
The staff is always right.
Yes, during our pre-interview, I was struck by that and your devotion, and I'm sure they feel that towards you. And what makes a good staff member at the bookstore, a bookseller and a book manager? What are the qualities that you look
Someone
for?
who can follow directions. And that's not as easy to find as one might think. But somebody who knows, if we do it this way, do it this way. If we have a procedure, you follow the procedure. Because the procedures have been worked out. We've got procedures for everything, absolutely everything. We're not computerized or automated in any way whatsoever. We have house account cards. They're filled out by hand. They're filled out on these 4x6 index cards, by hand. The inventory is done by hand. We don't have any scanners or lasers or anything of that sort. It's very labor intensive, but as a result, the staff is very knowledgeable. If they have to go over and over and over their inventories, boy, do they don't learn those books. Yeah.
I love it. I love it because you don't find that often today, where we're still doing it in that way. But it's to be admired. So you're a book addict. Can I say that?
Yes, I had been in the past. Absolutely. I don't read as frequently as I used to, but both my husband and I were book addicts. But I can tell you, the minute you open a bookstore, you don't have time to read. That's one thing we regretted.
Well, you had a knowledge and you knew enough to have a great bookstore, but unfortunately you didn't have time to read. That I think happens, right? That
Yes,
happens with life. Yes,
does
it gets
happen,
very
but
busy. Yet you did tell me that you write the newsletter. Is that correct?
I do. But what that means to write the newsletter is that we take the publisher's blurb of the book and just simply condense it. It's a matter of editing, not writing. We just
Okay.
condense it down to a smaller size as a blurb, so that we can send out. Now we do it digitally because of COVID. We started doing things more digitally rather than in person. Before, we used to have a newsletter that you only got if you came to the bookstore, and it wasn't mailed out to anyone. So it was a little bit very special that way. And then we used a digital newsletter to advertise once a month all the readings that we were having, because we had wonderful, wonderful readings, and we really enjoyed them, and they were packed, and they were great, and they were fun, and we had a wine, and we had, you know, cheese and crackers, and we had good wine too. As a matter of fact, people used to come and say, "Oh, what kind of wine is that?" It was my husband always insisted on quality. He said quality will out, and it really does. So that's what we did up until COVID. COVID, of course, turned everything upside down and inside out. We kept going. We kept going because Chris, the store manager, lives within walking distance, but the poor person had to, you know, everything was on his shoulders, the entire store for so long. And then eventually the office manager, Nick, who lived 4.5 miles away in Astoria or Queens, he'd run to work. He ran to work and he lost 30 pounds.
So you kept the store open when things were locked down, or?
We kept it open, not in the sense that people could come in.
Right. No, I understand that. Yes.
This was COVID panic time.
Right.
But people definitely, we send out our little newsletter, let people know that they could order books from us, or they could pull it up, etc., that sort of thing. And we would deliver them or have them delivered to people. And that's how, yes, we did keep the business going. We never, ever stopped the business. No, it was hard. It was very hard.
Yes, but that's wonderful, because it was probably a lifesaver for people that were in quarantine to have a nice new book delivered to their home.
Exactly. Exactly. When people had nothing else to do but jigsaw puzzles and books. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that was fun. That was a decision you made?
No, it wasn't a decision we made as such. It was just that we really didn't think about it. It just seemed like the natural thing to do is to keep the store going. It was because Chris lived within walking distance, he felt like there was no reason to close the store down. So he came in and he answered the phone, and Nick handled emails, because he could do that virtually. And somehow or another, those two guys kept the place together, completely together. We got ourselves down to, I think we had just 3 full-time people. We kept paying the staff their full salaries, but many in the staff, many of who, of course, had been there with the longevity that Nick or Chris had, or Robert, who's been with us also many, many, many years. They would move out to maybe be with their family during COVID, or just, you know, hunkered down because they didn't want to be out of their apartment during COVID. I mean, COVID really turned everything upside down and inside out. And we are coming out of it because New Yorkers have been wonderful about following the protocols. You know, we've all gotten our shots. We've all gotten our boosters. We've all done what we should do. We've all worn our masks. We've all been really, really good. So New York City has been in a good place, but you know, who knows what the future holds? We really don't know. I think we'll know in a year or two, but that's a long time from now.
Right, but we'll keep our fingers crossed, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, it definitely turned your business upside down, but the fact that you delivered the books, at least there was some continuity there.
Yes, there was. And also the staff, the customers were so loyal to us. They would do things like buy an enormous amount of gift certificates just to give us money to keep going. Somebody one person bought $5,000 worth of gift certificates to give to the emergency workers
Oh,
at Mount Sinai as a gift. I mean, that's their generosity.
that's lovely.
The
That's real
generosity to Mount
community.
Sinai and yes, it is. We really do have a community here. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a nice story. Thanks for sharing it. Is there anything in particular you'd like to share with us? Any readings of that happened that you really remember as being highlights?
One. Remember Frank McCourt, Angela's
Yes,
actress?
yes.
We knew Frank because we knew his brother Malik
Mm-hmm.
was a character. Wonderful character. He was a star on Ryan's Hope,
Mm-hmm.
and the creative Ryan's Hope was a close friend of ours who lived across the street. So we knew that the McCorks knew what they were doing. Frank McCourt and his brother Malachi used to have a two-man show called A Couple of Blaggers. And it was adorable and was very funny, but it was based on Angela's Ashes or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So we arranged, of course, with Frank to launch his book, Angela's Ashes, at the bookstore. And since it was Irish to the core, we served Irish whiskey, Irish beer, and we had an authentic Irish band. And that was very special. The place was so packed, we had to take our little table and put it outside to serve the whiskey and the beer, and then we had the band, and it was a hysterical evening, but it was fun. That one I remember. And if there are any others I remember, I would have to take a few minutes to think about it, but offhand, no. I mean, we've had wonderful readers here, wonderful people, but it's generally been more traditional.
Well, you had so many people and there's been so many wonderful books written, and, it's probably hard to kind of put it all together. As I said to you, it was a hard question, but you came up with a wonderful answer, or a pretty remarkable answer. And as you move forward and, you've seen what COVID did, and, it's like you said, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I'll paraphrase it because it's how I feel. I mean, we've all been spun around in so many different directions, and who would ever believe where we are and even where we are now? Being the bookstore owner, where do you see, what do you see moving ahead? Do you, what are kind of future projections of how busy you'll be, of what you see having more in-person events, or what's your whole feeling on all this?
We're definitely cutting down on the events, the in-person events, because we don't have the staff anymore. We lost a lot of staff, and they haven't been replaced.
Okay.
But we do have enough staff to function as a bookstore, but not to function with readings, because it takes so many more. You have to set up the chairs, you have to have somebody refreshments, and you have somebody handling the lights and somebody doing the introduction. It's just too much. But business has been excellent. And I think we'll just keep on doing what we're doing. It ain't broke, we're not going to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that, especially when people were in quarantine, I mean, reading was something most people did more of than they did previously.
Yes.
Will that continue? Who knows, right?
I think it will. I do think it will. Like I said before, business has been excellent, and outside of jigsaw puzzles, I don't know what people did. Well, we did a lot of online entertainment. I was online a lot. I myself, for my distraction, I enjoy playing bridge. So I was playing bridge online as much as I could. So I think people will do a lot more online than they had in the past, but people still like the physical book. They still, Yep.
I do. I do. First of all, my eyes hurt when I keep reading online. I just like the book. You know, it's just a wonderful thing to turn the page.
It is.
You
Yeah.
can't be replaced. You can't replace that at all.
Well, you know, Lynn, we wouldn't be in business if we didn't own the building. That's for sure, definitely. And it's also true, Feldman's across the street. They own their building, so they will be in business, going on with traditions, family traditions, and passing it on from generation to generation. My husband and I decided to we'll be passing the business on to Nick and Chris. And from then on, you know, we don't know what will happen. McLaughlin's owns their business, so that owns their building. So they will be here for as long as they want to. It's the businesses that own the building.
They have to. You had to, because it just got too expensive the other way to keep businesses going.
Yeah, the rents killed people. And I think that's a little disgusting. So many empty stores. There's a selfishness there that I'm not comfortable with.
Absolutely. That only makes it why having your corner bookstore is so much more meaningful. And I can't thank you enough for today. This was a wonderful conversation. I knew it would be good. It ended up being wonderful. So thank you so, so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Lynn. It was a pleasure, a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.